There comes a moment in every life when quitting feels logical, when giving up feels reasonable, when the world convinces you that enough is enough. But history doesn't remember the ones who chose comfort. It remembers the ones who stood firm when everything said stop. Because success doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the mind that refuses to quit. The mind that keeps moving forward when progress is silent, when effort is unseen, when faith is the only thing left standing. You see, a mind that refuses to quit becomes unstoppable, not because of talent, not because of luck, not even because of intelligence, but because of belief. Belief is the fuel behind every impossible victory. Belief is what turned Andrew Carnegie from a poor immigrant boy into the richest man of his age. Belief is what carried Henry Ford when the world mocked his idea of a horseless carriage. Belief is what kept Walt Disney alive when he was fired, rejected, bankrupt, and told he lacked imagination. A strong mind doesn't wait for proof, it creates proof. It doesn't wait for permission, it gives itself permission. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment, it rises and makes the moment perfect. And every time life knocks you down, and it will, you have two choices. Stay where you fell, or stand back up with more determination than before. Resilience isn't born from comfort. It is forged in the fires of adversity. The harder the struggle, the stronger the mind becomes. This is why Napoleon Hill wrote repeatedly, "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." He didn't say some adversities. He didn't say a few. He said every, because there is no wasted suffering in the life of a determined mind. But here's a truth most people avoid. To become unstoppable, you must first be willing to be uncomfortable. Growth demands discomfort. Discipline demands sacrifice. Change demands courage. The person who refuses to quit learns to embrace this discomfort like a warrior stepping into battle, knowing that the pain is temporary, but the glory is permanent. You start to realize that fear is not your enemy. Doubt is not your enemy. Failure is not your enemy. Your only real enemy is hesitation. The moment you start believing the voice that says, "Maybe this isn't for you," that voice has killed more dreams than failure ever could. But a powerful mind silences that voice, not through arrogance, but through action. Action in the midst of uncertainty. Action in the midst of worry. Action even when motivation disappears. Motivation gets you started, but consistency builds empires. A mind that refuses to quit understands that you don't need to feel ready to begin. You don't need confidence to take your first step. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a vision and the courage to pursue it relentlessly. Every day you show up, even when you don't want to, you strengthen your mental armor. Every decision you make that aligns with your future rather than your fears, you sharpen your inner weapon. Every time you rise after falling, you become someone new, someone stronger, wiser, more focused, more unbreakable. And slowly, the world begins to respond to this energy. Opportunities start showing up. People begin to notice your discipline. Doors open that were once locked. This doesn't happen by magic. It happens by alignment. When your mind is locked onto a purpose, the universe aligns itself with your determination. And the day comes when you look back at your journey and realize something profound. You were never fighting the world. You were only fighting the weaknesses inside yourself. The moment you mastered your mind, the world bowed to your direction. A mind that refuses to quit eventually discovers a sacred truth. Discipline is freedom. While the world sees discipline as restriction, the relentless mind understands it as liberation. Discipline frees you from excuses. Discipline frees you from emotional chaos. Discipline frees you from the regret of wasted potential. You wake up before the world does. When you work while others rest. When you persist while others complain. You are not punishing yourself. You are shaping your destiny. Napoleon Hill taught that desire backed by disciplined action becomes an unstoppable force. Desire alone is weak. Desire without structure is fantasy. But desire fused with daily discipline becomes power. This is how ordinary people transform into legends. Not overnight, not through luck, but through repeated decisions to honor their vision even when no one is watching. A mind that refuses to quit begins to see life differently. It no longer interprets obstacles as signs to surrender, but as signals to rise. This mind understands something most people never learn: that every challenge contains a hidden invitation, an invitation to expand beyond who you were yesterday. And while the world may try to convince you that the battle is too hard, the dream too distant, the path too lonely, a determined mind simply whispers, "Try me," because when you reach that point where giving up feels easier, faster, and more convenient, something powerful happens. You stand at a crossroads. One path leads backward into the familiar darkness of regret, and the other leads forward into the blinding light of purpose. Most people turn back, but the people who rise, the 1% who build empires, who inspire generations, who shape the world, choose the path forward, even when they can't see more than one step ahead. The mind that refuses to quit learns to master its inner dialogue. It understands that thoughts are seeds, and whatever you plant repeatedly will eventually grow. Fear-fed thoughts produce hesitation. Doubt-fed thoughts produce delay. But courage-fed thoughts produce momentum. Every morning, the relentless mind chooses its thoughts deliberately. It does not allow negativity to move in unchallenged. It does not entertain weakness. It replaces limiting beliefs with commanding affirmations. I am capable. I am disciplined. I am becoming unstoppable. This is not arrogance. This is mental conditioning. Just as the body must be trained through resistance, the mind must be trained through adversity. Every obstacle is mental weight. Every delay is resistance. Every failure is an invitation to grow stronger. The person who refuses to quit understands that comfort is the enemy of greatness. Growth demands pressure. Diamonds are formed under extreme conditions, not ease. Look at Abraham Lincoln. Defeated in business, broken in personal loss, rejected repeatedly in politics. Yet he stood firm while a nation trembled. He did not quit because his purpose was greater than his pain. Purpose is what carries you when motivation fades. Purpose is the anchor when storms arrive. Purpose transforms suffering into service and struggle into strength. A mind that refuses to quit is anchored in purpose. It knows why it wakes up early. It knows why it sacrifices comfort. It knows why it keeps going when no applause is heard. Purpose turns endurance into devotion. Without purpose, persistence feels heavy. With purpose, persistence feels inevitable. The relentless mind also understands patience, not passive waiting, but active endurance. Rome was not built in a day. Empires are not formed in moments of excitement, but in years of unseen effort. Carnegie did not rise in a season. Ford did not succeed on his first attempt. Disney did not build magic overnight. They trusted time because they respected the process. Time rewards consistency. Time reveals character. Time magnifies effort. Those who quit too soon never give time a chance to work in their favor. But the mind that refuses to quit stays planted long enough to harvest results. It understands that the world tests commitment before granting rewards. If you can endure silence, resistance, and delay, success eventually has no choice but to respond. And something remarkable happens as you persist. Your confidence stops depending on outcomes. You no longer need external validation. You no longer fear failure. You develop a quiet certainty, a deep knowing that regardless of what happens today, you will win eventually. This is the mindset of champions. This is the inner calm of those who have conquered themselves. Because the greatest victory is not external achievement, it is self-mastery. When you master your mind, you master your habits. When you master your habits, you master your actions. When you master your actions, you master your future. Everything begins within. The outer world is merely a reflection of inner discipline. And when life tests you again, and it will, you won't panic. You won't collapse. You won't retreat. You will breathe, adjust, and advance. Because you are no longer guided by emotion, but by intention. You are no longer driven by fear, but by faith in your ability to endure. A mind that refuses to quit does not ask, "What if I fail?" It asks, "What if I succeed beyond anything I've imagined?" And that question changes everything.